The novel The Joyla Club by Amy Tan revolves around the four mother-daughter relationships that depicts the experiences and differences between each of them. The mothers try to raise their Americanized daughters with the virtues they learned growing up in a Chinese culture, which created rifts in the relationships as the daughters have a hard time understanding and grasping the Chinese heritage.
Jingmei has taken Su Yan's, her mother's place in the Joyluck Club, playing mahjong in a weekly gathering that her mother had started in China, and brought in San Francisco, where they reside. Her mother's friends Lindo, Anne Mei, and Ying Ying delivered the news to her that before Su Yan died, she had located her twin daughters who she had left behind in China, unfolding the story of her mother that led her to slowly know her more, and led to the narrations of Anne Mei, Lindo, and Ying Ying's stories with their daughters.
Anne May narrated how she was raised to respect her family by being obedient and by hiding her feelings, but in the process learned that she had to remember who she is and stand up for herself. This explains why she tries to teach Rose, her daughter, to speak up and take action in her failing marriage.
Waverly told the story of her childhood, being a chess prodigy, and how her mother, Lindo, acted throughout those years, and how that affected the relationship in the long run. Both Waverly and Lindo were able to describe the similarities and differences that they have as a mother and daughter, from physical to psychological attributes.
Ying Ying remembered how she lost herself back then and how she sees that version of herself in her daughter Lena, regarding her marriage wherein she's silently being oppressed by her husband. This led to the flashback of Ying Ying's dark past about her marriage and the lessons she learned from there as she grew older, which made her want to empower her daughter.
Amy Tan used various literary devices such as imagery, metaphors, flashback, and the use of point of views. The author structured the story in such a way that it is narrated in different points of views, making the readers get to know each character easier and getting distinct themes across, enabling us to understand where the mothers and the daughters were coming from.
Also, through storytelling, each mother was able to narrate how they grew up and their experiences with their families, which established a connection between that and how they're raising their children and where the lessons they learned that they are trying to instill to their daughters came from. This subtly puts attention to the immigration experiences and beliefs that they have coming to America. For example, it depicts her fate in the American Dream. It was shown when Jingmi said, "My mother believed you could be anything you wanted to be in America," and also depicted the struggles that they faced being a different race as Rose narrated. And then she spoke quietly about Ted's future, his need to concentrate on his medical studies. She assured me she had nothing whatsoever against minorities. She and her husband, who owned a chain of office supply stores, personally knew many fine people who were Oriental, Spanish, and even black. But Ted was going to be in one of those professions where he will be judged by a different standard, by patients and other doctors who might not be as understanding as the Jordans were, which depicts that there are people in America who look at Chinese people differently.
Imagery is very much used in this book as well. That enabled Tan to really illustrate the scenes that help the readers visualize the places, foods, and events, bringing the readers into that scene. The pigs looked like giant fried fish, heads trying to jump out of a vat of oil. Behind each hill, I could see shadows of another fish, and then another, and another. And then the clouds would move just a little, and the hills would suddenly become monstrous elephants, marching slowly toward me, described Jingmei. Aside, aside from putting the reader in their worlds, the imagery also allows them to picture the characters' cultures and tradition, allowing us readers to understand in depth why the Americanized daughters and their mothers don't seem to have that deep connection as the daughters struggle, living up with the traditions that their mothers are implying. This was vividly seen when Waverly told how his fiancée Rich did during their dinner with her family. He had brought a bottle of French wine, something he did not know my parents could not appreciate. My parents did not even own wine glasses. And then he also made the mistake of drinking not one but two frosted glasses full, while everybody else had a half inch just for taste.
Pathos are also well utilized in this book as there are many scenes that really evoked an emotional appeal that captures the audience, and as an Asian reader, quite something that we can relate to. One of the emotional parts is the argument between Jingmei and her mother.
You want me to be someone that I'm not. I'll never be the kind of daughter you want me to be.
Only two kinds of daughters, those who are obedient and those who follow their own mind. Only one kind of daughter can live in this house, obedient daughter.
Then I wish I wasn't your daughter. I wish you weren't my mother.
Too late changed this. This scene does not only show the mother daughter relationship that they have, but also conveys the theme of filial piety.
There's a lot of metaphors used, especially during the mother's point of views. That describes more of their age, their knowledge, and their depth as a person. When I was a young girl in China, my grandmother told me my mother was a ghost. Tan used this to help the readers with the interpretation of the Chinese traditions since most of us could not understand it. Also, to make the readers have a better understanding of concrete concepts. For example, all these years I kept my true nature hidden, running along like a small shadow so nobody could catch me. Amy Tan used flashbacks to show the upbringing of the characters in the novel. When Suyan told her daughter Jingmei about how the Joy Luck Club started is one of the examples of it. Each point of view of mothers used this to portray what made them who they are now. I wiped my eyes and looked in the mirror. I was surprised at what I saw. I had on a beautiful red dress, but what I saw was even more valuable. I was strong, I was pure. I had genuine thoughts inside that no one could see, that no one could ever take away from me. I was like the wind. This is also an example of repetitions. The cultural complexes in the novel lead to more conflicts and misunderstandings. With the use of different points of views, we are able to learn where they're coming from. The mother-daughter relationship, sacrifices, immigration experiences, and the culture are portrayed by using a lot of rhetorical devices such as storytelling, imagery, pathos, metaphor, and flashbacks, which helps the author to deliver the message effectively and helps the readers to connect the characters and theme of the story.